Thank you, everybody, for joining us back here at Logiq's channel. We're sitting here once again with Chief Executive Officer of Logiq, Brent, Suen. And Brent, you had previously mentioned these concepts to me, AdTech and MarTech, and I'm curious if you can elaborate on them a little more and explain what Logiq does with them.
Sure. Okay. So just for simplicity's sake, AdTech is the shorter version of advertising technology. MarTech is the shorter version of marketing technology. I think it's fair to say that within any technology company, there are a considerable number of acronyms and buzzwords and jargon that investors can find very intimidating. So I think it's important as a public company to simplify the message for investors, especially for those new to the concept, because if you lose them, you may lose a potentially very interesting investor, just because it can be intimidating and daunting with all the buzzwords. And so, yeah, I try to stay away from that. Explaining the difference. Okay, so I would hazard a guess that you and other viewers will search for something on Google, for example, and then all of a sudden you'll start to see ads for those particular things. So let's say you search camping or new car tires, and then all of a sudden you're starting to get all these ads on websites you visit, and there's a special on tires over at Mavis. There's a sale on tents at REI, things of that nature. That's AdTech. Okay, paid advertisements that are pushed into you.
Yeah, so this is something that everyone is familiar with, and I would say some people are quite paranoid about, as they're like, how did they know I was thinking about pizza today? But they forgot they literally Googled what's the best pizza place around me 5 minutes ago. So
that's right.
Okay, yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. So then dive in. Well, first off, before we dive into MarTech, explain what you guys then do with AdTech again.
Sure. Okay, so the two parts of AdTech are buyers and sellers. And so a buyer would be someone like a brand, and it could be someone big like a Nike or Columbia, or I've got clothing on the brain right now, Abercrombie and Fitch, a brand. Okay. And over on the other side, on the sell side, you have media sites. So CNN.com, Forbes, BuzzFeed. So buyers and sellers, and right in the middle is what's called an ad exchange. So you have to connect these buyers and sellers together, very much like the stock market. And in the middle of that ad exchange, people who want to purchase ad space have to have that on-ramp. Right now, there's probably 70 to 100 different on-ramps. The largest of these, and possibly one of the most well-known, is a New York Stock Exchange company named the Trade Desk, which has seen a spectacular rise over the past 5 years. It's done extraordinarily well for investors. $30 billion market cap. I think they're 2 or 3 billion in revenues, in less than 10 years old. They are the main on-ramp. They control the ad exchange, if you will. The bulk of the buying and selling goes through them. And what you'll generally find are that the largest advertisers and publishers are using the Trade Desk. I seem to recall that the average monthly spend is around $100 million. So you think about that. If you're a small or medium-sized business, that's way beyond your reach.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what am I saying here? I'm saying that for small and medium-sized businesses, it is very challenging to get into the flow. And even if you do, effectively compete, buying the ads, finding the eyeballs that are going to see your stuff and want to come and buy your stuff.
Yeah.
So what we've done is we've said, okay, well, we built our own version of the on-ramp. Actually, we acquired it last year, and we're focused on small companies, small businesses. But instead of going out to hundreds of them or thousands of them, which takes a huge sales team, what we instead did is we approached medium-sized ad agencies that already provide advertising solutions and packages for small businesses. And so our value proposition to them and their clients is, we will give you the same functionality as you would get on the trade desk if you were big enough to be on the trade desk. And we take it 2 steps further. One is we offer full transparency. As with any buying central warehousing or place or exchange of buyers and sellers, there's always an unknown. You don't know where the pricing lies, where someone may have bought something that you have bought from them, or your broker or your middleman. But in this case, we open it all up. We show them exactly what they would pay for the ad, show them the transparency, and then we can build a campaign around that to show them how effective their ad spend was. And then they would pay us on a scale. So let's simplify it. If they're able to buy ad space at a low cost, it increases their sales, then in turn they would naturally spend more with us.
Correct. Yeah.
So we could charge a little more. So what we're trying to do is enable them, which you take the long way around, it ends up enabling us. So it's very much of a building of a relationship on that side, and keeping the focus on the smaller companies who have a hard time competing with the obvious big ones.
Yeah, very well said. I mean, the larger they don't have to spare an expense, the larger companies, right? And they have, you're competing against Trade Desk and so on. But so these smaller companies, there's essentially an unmet needs in the market that you guys were filling. And I think you described it very well there, where if they do better, then you do better, and then they're more likely to use you. And that's kind of at the core of AdTech, because one thing that makes smaller businesses frustrated with advertisements is, for them, often, if they don't try to consult anybody, they try to do it themselves. It's essentially like throwing money down the drain, which is not the case. If they would use someone like Logiq, then they can actually analyze the data, because it's not a silver bullet solution as much as it is a process and analyzing the data and seeing what's working and split testing and funneling and so on. So, all right. Yeah, that side makes a lot of sense to me. And I encourage anyone who needs a little more explanation to go ahead and ask, and we'll happily clarify whatever we can. But let's move on to MarTech now. Give us the 411 on MarTech.
Sure. So MarTech, I think an easy example of that would be when you go to Amazon, or you go to any online shopping site that you have used before, and they suggest things to you that you might like, that are personalized to you. That's MarTech. It's the personalization of products or services based around what you are interested in, and how do you gather what someone is interested in. It's generally a historical purchase history, but it can take other things into account as well, which could be age range, zip code,
location. Yeah, that makes sense.
The type of car you drive, how much is your mortgage, where did you go to school, what type of eyeglasses do you wear. These are called attributes, and there's thousands and thousands of them available, which is what you had mentioned earlier, that some people find that a little scary when they start getting served advertisements on things that they may have mentioned to a friend on a phone call, or in a conversation, or searched for. MarTech can be that way too, because you are tracked across different sites. When you click on that permission button when you visit a site, That site can follow you across. It can also mine specific information about you. If you fill out a form on a website and you give it permission to follow you around, they can then cross-reference you. So it can say, okay, well, Mike Whitlatch's phone number is this. Mike Whitlatch's email is this. It can cross-reference that, and it can also know that you are Michael Whitlatch at this address who purchased this car accessory. So you start accumulating all these things. What do you do when you have all that? Well, you can sell that name, that enrichment of the name, to someone who is looking for you as a customer.
Yeah, very well said. So I guess, would this be a good example? For instance, you mentioned glasses. My brand of glasses is called Fat Heads because I have a relatively fat head. So therefore, I would probably work well for extra large hats. Give this man a nice bucket hat, a nice bowler hat or something. He's more likely to buy it.
That's right. That's right.
That explains why I bought that giant hat, Brent. It was you guys working in the background. But okay, yeah, tell us more then. So tell us about how you guys specifically implement this as well.
Sure. So we offer a variety of marketing tools, which range from things like email marketing campaigns, SMS marketing campaigns, which are actually still very effective and quite prevalent. So we will mine the data around a list of people that fit a certain demographic that you as a seller or service offerer would desire to put your goods or services in front of. We can help you develop that campaign. You can do it through offline, through mailers. You can do it through sort of the old school method, through email campaigns or SMS. Or they can be even richer, where it is an entire list of those names that are already pre-vetted. These are people who are standing by, ready to purchase. They are looking for your services. That's called lead generation. And so refining all these elements and taking someone all the way down the funnel who says, okay, I want a new roof. If you are a roofing company in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and you want someone in your area who wants to buy a roof, you could buy a lead from us for, let's just call it $200. You know, this person has a better than average chance of wanting to get a new roof because they've gone through and done the online estimator, and we've enriched all the data on them. And you call on them, then that $200 is well spent because they may spend $6,000 on a new roof. We can take it even one step further, where we can utilize a third-party call center that we have a relationship with, and they can call on that person for you and say, this roofing company in your neighborhood is actually offering a special right now. They'd love to come out and give you an estimate. What's your availability tomorrow? So it's things like that that are online to offline. They are things that are online to the consumer, which would stay online. So filling out forms, receiving emails, or offline in terms of putting on the phone. The phone seems to disappear. So yeah, it's tools. It's tools for bettering your chances as a seller of a good or service to sell said good or service to a customer.
Yeah, and you know, Brent, with AdTech and MarTech, you mentioned that yes, some people do, and I mentioned as well, people get paranoid about it. But you know what people really seem to notice? When it's off the mark. That's when they tend to notice, like, what is this ad? I don't need this. What is this? But the majority of the time, they don't realize most of the things that they do view, and even like, as you said, as they're shopping on a website, everything around them has been kind of curated for them. And that's typically better for you anyways, as a consumer. So that it makes sense. It's supposed to be a win-win situation. But Brent, overall, thank you for coming on and sharing your insight on these two terms. And thank you everyone for watching. Please, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. Brent, any final words?
Have a nice weekend.